Happy Thursday. Welcome into the show. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report, and we're live right here on Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr., and as always, no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, I greatly appreciate all of you for making this afternoon show a part of your day, and there is a lot to get to. Brock Purdy is supposed to address the media here coming up in the aftermath of Nick Sorensen, the defensive coordinator, and Chris Foerster, the offensive line coach, speaking with the media. The Niners had tweeted that out, and I'm curious, is Brock Purdy actually going to talk? Because today, really moments ago, in the shadows of Levi Stadium at the SAP Performance Center, he took the practice field after not throwing yesterday, threw a couple of passes, was working with the trainer, according to friend of the show, Grant Cohn, and then he left the practice field, did not return, and it looked as though maybe he was dealing with some shoulder discomfort. If Brock Purdy can't play in this football game against the Green Bay Packers, as this Niners 2024 season is hanging by a thread, that is not good news for San Francisco. So, in addition to that, coming up here on the show, gonna break down the Niners playoff picture, what San Francisco has to do to turn the season around and make it into the dance. Could the Niners be making changes along the offensive line and on the defensive side of the football? Why does this 49ers defense collapse? The numbers that we're going to talk about today might shock you. We have some news from practice today. We'll talk about Aaron Rodgers and the Niners' potential interest in him. That's going to come up during our mailbag segment. You too can get your questions in because I already got one in from a viewer. Use the hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. I do want to gauge the temperature of this fan base right now. Is the Niners season over? Type O for over, or do you believe that the 49ers can turn it around? Let me know down in the comment section right now. I'll start to give you some shout outs for San Francisco to turn it around. It has to start week 12 on the road against the Green Bay Packers. If you're looking for a preview of that game, it's already up on the channel. Myself and Chip did that a little bit earlier today. Keys to the game, matchups to watch, what San Francisco has to do to be victorious, and some Niners injury news. So Chip, pop that question back up because it's a combination of responses here. I see Ty Man the Buckeye, he's believing. Joseph, he said it's over. Josh Muller, over. Kim Frederick is believing. Scott Tenbor, he's believing. Ernesto, still holding out some hope. Gabriel, Robert, Juan, Norman, they are believing. But then you have Ken Dowsland saying, O for over. Now, it's taken a little while for Brock Purdy to meet with the media here. And I wonder if he actually is going to meet with the media in the aftermath of him leaving the practice field. Because right now there's no sign of Brock Purdy in the locker room, and he was supposed to address the media. The 49ers as a team had tweeted that out. Nick Sorensen, Chris Foerster, and Brock Purdy addressed the media ahead of Packers-Niners. But it doesn't look like Brock Purdy is going to speak with the media, given his injury most likely, and we'll continue to monitor that and pass along all of the latest. NFC playoff picture. Let's take a look there because segment number 1, we're going to break down the Niners playoff path and what San Francisco has to do to turn this season around and make it into the playoffs. Right now, if the season were to end today, the Niners would not be in the playoffs. They are in even 5-5 in that grouping with teams in the hunt and on the outside looking in, alongside the Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks. Divisional teams. And that's why losing against the Rams and Seattle was so hurtful to the Niners' playoff chances. At 4-6, you have the Buccaneers and the Chicago Bears. 4-7, the New Orleans Saints, but they would literally have to run the table, and it's getting to a point where the Niners will have to get close to running the table. The Lions in that number 1 spot at 9-1, currently on an 8-game winning streak. Philadelphia on a 6-game winning streak. They are 8-2. The NFC West leading Arizona Cardinals. Who thought that was going to be a sentence going into Week 12 at the start of the year? Jonathan Gannon's team, led by a good play from Kyler Murray, 6-4. Atlanta Falcons at 6-5, leading the dreadful NFC South. Let's get the comment section going once again. 275 people watching live. Where are you watching from? Let us know in the comment section right now. We're coming to you from Studio H in the Chat Sports Studios. Our Super Chat battle today, we always like to pit ourselves up against rival channels because competition brings the best out of everybody. Earlier this week, the Cowboys report they did $150 in Super Chat. Seahawks today at $125. Can we beat that number? Let's get it. As for where people are watching from, Tacoma, Washington from Ken. Darren is in Fulton, Missouri. The UK from Caleb Ozulax. He's been watching the show for a long time. Primetime Fits, the open road. How about that? Rocking and rolling with us on the Niners Report while driving safely. Stam, St. Louis. Nevada from Native Dancer. California from Ironic CMD. Big Hurt, our guy from Richmond, Virginia. 01 Cricks from Florida. Black Mask in the Bay as usual. And Joji Konishiwa, you love to see it. All right, as for what's going on with Brock Purdy, and we'll pass along all the updates that we get throughout the afternoon. Matt Mayoka writing this up in NBC Sports Bay Area's column here, that Brock Purdy appeared to experience discomfort in his right shoulder as he threw some passes before the start of Niners practice on Thursday. San Francisco's head athletic trainer, Dustin Little, was seen rubbing Purdy's throwing shoulder. Then Purdy left the field before the start of practice. Purdy's status for the Niners' critical Week 12 game against Green Bay appears to be in question due to the condition of his right shoulder. Backup quarterback Brandon Allen would get the start if Purdy were unable to play. Purdy took part in limited practice on Wednesday, but did not throw any passes during the warm-up periods in which reporters were allowed to observe. Coach Kyle Shanahan expressed optimism on Wednesday that Purdy would be able to play against the Packers when asked about his level of concern. Here's my concern, though. He said the same thing about George Kittle last week, and George Kittle did not play against the Seattle Seahawks. So we'll continue to get some updates here, and we'll pass along all of the most recent updates. Again, I'm looking at the Niners X feed here. They had tweeted out 16 minutes ago, Nick Sorensen, Chris Foerster, Brock Purdy addressed the media prior to Packers-Niners. They are still live, but no Brock Purdy yet. Very interesting. Austin Scarberry! $100 Super Chat. Gridley, Northern California, still holding faith for the San Francisco 49ers. So if you don't have hope in this football team, Austin Scarberry does. Did you get your custom jersey for being our MVP, Austin? Let us know. Jacob with the $2 Super Chat. Thank you for the Deuce. Thank you for the heart emojis as well. And thank you for donating to the program. So more than 300 people watching live. Let's get to the latest on Brock Purdy. What are we seeing here? All we know as of right now is that Purdy left today's practice after having discomfort in his injured right shoulder. He's expected to talk with the media anytime now. But Grant Cohn had said no sign of Brock Purdy in the locker room yet today. Offensive line coach Chris Foerster doesn't believe the team is in a doom or gloom scenario. He spoke. Nick Sorensen spoke. Brock Purdy is supposed to speak. Now, the Niners also tweeted that out after Brock Purdy left the practice field. So this is very, very interesting. We will be doing a mailbag today, by the way. Use the hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. It just gets the questions in the system for producer Chip to pull up. And with 300 people watching live, 42 likes. I thought we had some real ones hopping on board joining the show today. Where's everybody at? Hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. The more likes that we get, the more people who find the stream, and the more fun that we will have, because we have 3 segments coming your way and a loaded show on the 49ers Report Rundown. You don't want to miss it, but we need your help. Let's get some more people in here. Helps the algorithm. Hit that thumbs up icon. Smash that piece. And let's get to 100 likes before we start the show. King Martini saying, what's up, guys? What's up, King Martini? Adam Mommy, do you still think the Niners can win the NFC West? I do. And we're going to start off there, so be sure to stay tuned because segment number 1, we're going to take a look at the Niners playoff picture. Austin Scarberry again and Black Mask with the $50 super chat. Speaking of Black Mask's $50 super chat, let me pop up the Instagram DMs here because Black Mask had sent a photo in because we sent him a 49ers Report hat. We'll pop up that super chat as well. Where's he at? Let's see. There he is. Look at Black Mask. He's got the sweater on. He's rocking the 49ers Report swag. That's good stuff right there. Thank you for that 50, my brother. We'll read that super chat out. Fernando Espinosa with the $5 super chat. Already $170 in super chats. Let's go. Austin, I did. Thank you, guys. All right, so we got the custom jersey. Good stuff. Black Mask with the 50. Thank you for the hat. Wearing it proudly. I have to believe the logo is tattooed on my back, but it's just a tough year to watch. Super Bowl hangover. It's just real right now. That's what it is. But glad that you're rocking with the Niners and rocking with the 49ers Report. And then Fernando saying Niners all the way. So he asked the people earlier, do you still have hope in this football team? Fernando does. Jacob with another 2. Shout out to Chipper and Trizzy. Yeah, shout out to the OGs who make this show go. Chip's here to my right. Trizzy Trace, he's still crushing it here at Chat Sports, doing his thing. He worked his way up the ladder. Fernando Espinosa with that $5 super chat saying Niners all the way. So still no sign of Brock Purdy, and the 49ers are still streaming live on their X page, and Purdy is scheduled to speak. See if we have any more updates. Brock Purdy listed as limited. He was on the field for the first couple of periods, then went into the weight room. Unclear if he returned at the first part of practice. And he will not be speaking with the media today. And no quarterback will be talking with the media. Not good. Not good. Yeah, Nick Wagner, ESPN, with that news there that Brock Purdy is not going to talk. He will not hold his usual media session today. So this is a fluid situation. We'll continue to bring you the latest right here on the 49ers Report. $30 away from 200 in supers. We already took down the Cowboys Report and Seahawks today. Let's continue to get those dubs. And let's start off with segment number 1 in taking a gander at the Niners playoff picture. We're 15 likes away from 100. Continue to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. And with that, let's start the show in Big Hurt. We'll get to your super chat after segment number 1. Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report. Chase Sr. here with you. And as always, no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, I greatly appreciate all of you for making today's show a part of your day. Coming up, we're going to take a look at the Niners playoff picture, look at a couple of different scenarios, look at the Niners schedule, the schedules for the rest of the NFC West teams, and try to find a path for how San Francisco can turn their season around and make the NFL playoffs. With that, today's poll question is this. This will be the pinned comment on today's show. So be sure to let your voices be heard, as always, because you always have a voice on this program. Will the 49ers make the playoffs? Why for yes and for no? Let me know. Let's set the table by first taking a look at the NFC playoff picture. If the season were to end right now, the Niners would be outside of the playoff picture. They would not be in the big dance. The Detroit Lions, number 1 seed at 9-1. Philadelphia Eagles, number 2 seed at 8-2. Those are two of the hottest teams in football right now. If I were to have told you that going into Week 12, at the end of November, that the Arizona Cardinals would be leading the NFC West and in the 3 spot in the NFC, what would you have said? They have been one of the more surprised teams in the NFL, led by Jonathan Gannon and the solid play of Kyler Murray. The Atlanta Falcons in that 4 position at 6-5, leading the bad division that is the NFC South. And then the 3 wildcard teams right now. Minnesota Vikings 8-2, but because the Lions are 9-1, they're a wildcard team. If the season were to end today, they'd be on the road to take on the Atlanta Falcons. The Green Bay Packers, again, another NFC North team, 7-3 in that 6th spot. And then the Washington Commanders, the second best team in the NFC East, that 7th seed at 7-4. This has been a wild and wacky year inside the NFC West. So many people thought because the Niners made it to the Super Bowl last year, most talented team in this division, other teams were down going into 2024, that the Niners were a shoo-in to once again win this division. Hasn't worked out that way. And that's what happens when you lose 3 games, when you were leading with 2 minutes to go against NFC West teams. It happened against the Cardinals in Week 5. It happened against the Rams in Week 3. And it happened against the Seahawks last week. And so because of those 3 divisional losses, the Niners, 1-3 inside the NFC West, 5-5, and you have 3 teams in this division who are 5-5, with the Cardinals coming out of the bye week at 6-4. The Niners' remaining schedule here. Here's how it shakes out for the remainder of the 2024 campaign. Niners will be on the road against the Green Bay Packers, and we'll see what the injury status is of quarterback Brock Purdy. Week 13, once again on the road in another cold climate against the Buffalo Bills. The Niners return home Week 14 to play the Chicago Bears. Week 15, massive game against the Los Angeles Rams. Will it matter by that point? We'll see. Niners going to have to take care of business in the games prior to that. Week 16, cross-country travel against the Miami Dolphins. Week 17, at home, NFC Championship game rematch against the Detroit Lions. And then the Niners are on the road Week 18 against the Arizona Cardinals. I have thoughts on that game coming up here in just a bit. For the Niners to make the playoffs, it all starts with a win against the Green Bay Packers. If the Niners lose against Green Bay, I think it's over. And after that Seattle loss, I pretty much said here on the show, it is over. I looked at the New York Times playoff model and the playoff picture. You can do some math and go through a couple of different scenarios. And right now, according to that model, the New York Times has the Niners' playoff chances at 22%. If San Francisco beats the Green Bay Packers, it goes up to 36%. If the Niners lose against Green Bay, it drops down to 11%. If San Francisco can win against Green Bay and Buffalo on the road, the chances go up and increase to 55%. There are, of course, different models out there. For instance, Pro Football Focus. The Niners have a 53% chance of making the playoffs with a win against the Packers. If the Niners lose, it plummets to 15%. Keep in mind, the Niners did make the playoffs in 2021 when they started 3-5. They won 2 games in a row and then were 5-5. So crazier things have happened and teams have gotten hot at the end of November, in December, and in January. But is this year different because of how banged up San Francisco is mentally as well as physically, and how much football they've played over the last few years, having made it to 4 NFC titles and 2 Super Bowls in 4 of the last 5 years. What it will take for San Francisco in order to get into the playoffs and get in line. The team has to finish games. As easily as they are 5-5, they could be 8-2 if they won those divisional games, and we wouldn't be having this worrisome conversation right now. The offense has to finish in the red zone. 26th in red zone touchdown percentage. They are 2nd in the NFL in yards per game, yet they're 26th in the red zone. Haven't been able to finish drives, and that's literally been the difference in a lot of these games that have been close games that the Niners have been on the wrong side of. Can't afford many other injuries, and San Francisco might need some help. Elsewhere in the NFC, inside the NFC West. A lot more to get to here on the show, but a reminder for the people, if you want daily Niners coverage, be sure to subscribe to the largest independently run Niners channel right here on YouTube. It's the 49ers Report right here on my chest. So be sure to lock us in as we are over 150,000 subscribers. Coming up next, a clear look at the Niners' path for San Francisco to make the playoffs. Stay tuned for that, but first, Today's sponsor, our friends at Prize Picks, the best daily fantasy sports app in the game. More than 10 million active members and billions of dollars handed out in awarded winnings. It's daily fantasy sports made easy. You pick 2 or more players, you choose more or less on their projected stats, and right now you can win up to 100 times your cash. Right now, when you play $5, you get $50 instantly. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. You just have to plug in the link at the bottom of your screen, prizepicks.com/CLNS. Couple of plays that we're eyeing up going into Sunday. Christian McCaffrey, more than 78.5 rushing yards. Christian Watson, less than 43.5 receiving yards. The defense is going to have to come to play. And CMC, he's going to have to bring it as well. So one more time, pick more, pick less, pick Prize Picks, and run your game with Prize Picks. prizepicks.com/CLNS. As for this Niners playoff path, I think winning the NFC West is the only way that San Francisco can get into the NFC playoff hunt. And that's the only way that the Niners can make the postseason. Again, look at the NFC playoff picture here. I don't think the Lions are going to tail off. I don't think the Vikings are going to tail off. I don't think the Packers are going to collapse. And because of that, I think 3 teams from the NFC North get in. I think 2 teams from the NFC East get in. So that would be Lions, Vikings, Packers in the NFC North. That would be Philadelphia and Washington in the NFC East. The NFC South is not good enough to get 2 teams in. Buccaneers really have some room to make up at 4-6. Injuries have hurt them. And so I think the Atlanta Falcons win that division. Plus, they've won both head-to-head matchups against Tampa Bay. And then in the NFC West, a team could be at 9 wins, at 10 wins, but that still might not be good enough to supplant a wild card team in Minnesota, Green Bay, or Washington, because naturally they're going to have more wins. So this division is crazy right now. It has been crazy. It is wide open. If you want a glimmer of hope, the remaining schedules for Arizona, Seattle, and Los Angeles are pretty hard, in addition to the Niners schedule being pretty difficult. Let's first take a look at the Cardinals slate. Week 12, this week, on the road against Seattle. Anything can happen in that game. Do the Seahawks have confidence coming off that last-second win against the Niners? They're also at home. They have some talent. But the Cardinals are also coming off that bye. Week 13, on the road against the Minnesota Vikings. That Brian Flores defense is legit. Week 14, at home against Seattle. So the Cardinals and Seahawks will play in 2 of the next 3 weeks. That could go a long way in determining an NFC West champion. Week 15, easy game against the New England Patriots. But could you see Arizona losing 2 of these games? Maybe 3 of these games? When Kyler Murray has been in a spot to make the playoffs, and when he has made the playoffs earlier in his career, he's really struggled in December. Last 3 games for Arizona here. On the road against Carolina, on the road against the Rams, and at home against the 49ers. So you could see a path for Arizona to lose anywhere between 2 and 5 games, and right now they are 6-4. So you think about that Week 18 game. The NFC West could come down to Week 18, Cardinals-Niners, if the Niners can get their things together, and the winner is in the playoffs. The loser, see ya, it's golf season and time for the offseason. The Seahawks' remaining schedule. Week 12 against Arizona, as I mentioned. Week 13 on the road against the Jets. That's a long travel from the Pacific Northwest to New York, even with the Jets being a dumpster fire. Week 14, once again, against the Arizona Cardinals. Week 15, at home against Green Bay. Green Bay will be playing for their playoff lives. Week 16, the Seahawks do get Minnesota at home. So Packers and Vikings at home, that's a schedule break for Seattle, but 2 legitimate teams. They have to go on the road, and by the time it's Week 17 in Chicago, you imagine the weather will play a role, and then they're on the road again to round out the regular season against the Los Angeles Rams. Just like with Arizona, you could see a scenario where Seattle drops a few of these games. The Rams schedule. Big one coming up against the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday Night Football this upcoming Sunday. Week 13, on the road against the Saints team that fired their coach. New Orleans has won 2 games in a row, and it's a difficult place to play. Buffalo. The Rams get the Bills at home. Bills fans are going to take over SoFi Stadium. Week 15, Rams are on the road against San Francisco. Week 16, on the road against the New York Jets. Another cross-country trip for Los Angeles. And then the Rams, because of that travel, come back home to take on Arizona and Seattle. What's the theme here between the Cardinals, Seahawks, Rams, Niners? They all have pretty difficult schedules remaining. And so it is a feast or famine type of division, and whichever team rounds out the regular season playing their best football, winning the most games, they will be crowned NFC West champs. They'll make it into the playoffs, and everybody else, in my opinion, is going to be on the outside looking in. So with that being said, there is a path for the Niners to make the dance. They just have to take care of business, and you have to hope that Brock Purdy is going to be able to play in this game on Sunday as we record this on Thursday. So the big question, who wins the NFC West? SF for the Niners, SEA for the Seahawks, LAR for the Rams, or ARI for the Arizona Cardinals? Let's get caught up on your super chats here. Big Hurt with the $10 super chat. The fat lady ain't singing, but that big girl is tuning up. I love that super chat right there. The fat lady ain't singing, but that big girl is tuning up. That's good stuff right there. Only Big Hurt bringing the heat like that. Kyle, he has to get his shit together and coach to win and not lose. He does have to be a little bit more aggressive in the fourth quarter. I think you're seeing him a little bit fatigued mentally, and you're seeing this Niners team mentally fatigued. And that is why you tune into this show, because that was one of my 5 biggest concerns for this football team going into 2024. Another GOAT, Black Mask with the $10 super chat. We are not beating the shit out of opponents in the trenches like we used to. We would play smash mouth football. Their run game, especially with first down success rate, first down efficiency, oftentimes it's been a 2nd and 10 or playing behind the sticks after running it. Very uncharacteristic. Black Mask knows ball. Segment number 3 will be a mailbag. Get your questions in. Get your super chats in. Hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. We are $10 away from $200 in super chats. Even Native Dancer like that super chat from Big Hurt. All right, coming up next, could the Niners be making some major changes? One on offense, one on defense, specifically with the player, but then all together as a defensive unit. It's going to be segment number 2. Let's see if we have any more Brock Purdy updates first. Let's see. Any more Brock Purdy updates? Here is the Thursday practice report. Did not practice. Nick Bosa hip, Trent Williams ankle, Tatum Bethune knee, Jacob Cowan concussion, Kevin Givens groin. Limited. Brock Purdy shoulder, threw a couple of passes though, and then left. Did not address the media for his normal media availability. George Kittle, hamstring. Christian McCaffrey, Achilles. Charvarius Ward, personal. And John Feliciano, knee. Speaking of John Feliciano, let's talk about him next. Segment number 2, getting underway here live on the show. Could the San Francisco 49ers be making some major changes as they are 5-5, fighting for a playoff spot? Their season is hanging in the balance going into this Week 12 game against the Green Bay Packers. We're talking about that on today's San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch the show. A programming reminder, we will be live for Niners Packers. Another watch party right here on the program. We'll be live starting at 3 p.m. Eastern with a pregame show, 12 p.m. Pacific, live play-by-play, instant reactions. We'll ride that roller coaster together during the game, and then after the game, a post-game show. It's the best place to experience a Niners game day outside of being at the actual game. We'll be giving away a Jerry Rice autograph jersey. You don't want to miss it. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell icon, turn on your notifications. Therefore, anytime we go live or push out a show like this one, you will be notified. Change number one that San Francisco could make, replacing center Jake Brendel with John Feliciano. Jake Brendel has not had a good year, and over the last few weeks, his play has trickled downward. He is currently graded 43rd out of 45 qualified centers in pass blocking grade, according to Pro Football Focus. His overall blocking grade is 64.2. That is 40th among 45 quality centers. And his run blocking grade, 71.1, it ranks 13th. Jake Brendel plays his best football when there isn't a defensive tackle right in front of him. And on top of that, when he can get out and split space, either climbing to that second level in this outside zone scheme and blocking at that second level, or getting out in space on some of those pull blocks as part of this run blocking scheme, and having a lane where he can free up running lanes for the runners behind him. Jake Brendel's strength is not going up against some of the top defensive tackles in the game. He's a little bit slow in getting out of his snap. He's a little bit small just in general. And he is overmatched when he has to go up against the likes of a Chris Jones or some of the top defensive tackles in the game. And Jake Brendel simply is not good enough. And we've really had a long sample size at seeing this over the last couple of years. Now, in 2022, he was a Pro Bowl alternate. But in 2023, didn't play great football, and in 2024, it's once again the case. You look at his Pro Football Focus numbers here. Overall PFF grade of 64.2. That run blocking grade is very solid at 71.1. But the pass blocking grade is abysmal at 44.2. He has committed 6 penalties this year. He has not given up a sack. And that's one of those misleading numbers, because you would point to that number and say, wow, Jake Brendel has played some pretty good football, but he's given up 2 hits, also not a bad number, but 16 pressures on 662 snaps total. Really what it comes down to is him just not being able to hold up in pass protection. And when that happens, opposing defensive players are able to get a free lane right at Brock Purdy. And when the pocket is muddied for a quarterback from the interior, it can wreck a play. It can move the quarterback off his spot. It can throw the timing of the play all out of whack. And so Jake Brendel might be able to get by when he's playing against some lackluster defensive tackles, but when he goes up against teams with a good front, he really struggles. He gets pushed back into the lap of Brock Purdy, and it throws this offense out of sorts. A lot of you probably have this question too. Can John Feliciano play center? He is what we call a swing interior offensive lineman. He can play center, he can play right guard, and he can play left guard. He's done this throughout his entire NFL career. And going back to Brendel here, Sports Info Solutions has a statistic: blown blocks and penalties. Since week 5, Brendel, 6 blown pass blocks, 1 blown run block, 3 total penalties. One of those penalties really handicapped the Niners on a drive last week against Seattle where they were moving the football. As for John Feliciano, I just simply think that he is the better option at that center spot as compared to Brendel if he's able to hold up with that knee injury, which he's been dealing with all year, which caused him to miss a lot of the season, and that's why he hasn't played yet. But if he can come back and if he can stay healthy and be healthy, then John Feliciano should start over Jake Brendel. In 2023, when he had to fill in at right guard, he had to fill in at left guard, he played a little bit of center, he had one of the finer years of his career. Overall Pro Football Focus grade of 81.2, run blocking grade of 87, one of the highest marks for any guard in football, a pass blocking grade of 66.5. Is that elite? No. Is it better than Jake Brendel? Yes, much better. 244 snaps at right guard, 208 snaps at left guard. He had to fill in for Spencer Burford when he was hurt, had to fill in for Aaron Banks when he was hurt, and then had 26 snaps at center. He was the team's starting right guard in the Super Bowl against Kansas City. The year prior to last year. In 2022, he was actually the full-time starter at center with the New York Giants. Keep in mind, bad quarterback play, bad offensive line around him that probably contributed to some of the down numbers here. Overall Pro Football Focus grade of 58.2, but a pass blocking grade of 65.9. Still so much better than Jake Brendel. And a run blocking grade of 57.1. So with Feliciano over Brendel, you might get better pass blocking, a little bit less in the department of run blocking, but I think he's just a better player overall. 22 pressures given up in 2022, 3 sacks, 3 hits, 6 penalties on 971 snaps at that center spot. So who should start at center? JB for Jake Brendel, JF for John Feliciano. Once again, as always, let your voices be heard here on this show. If you want to support the Niners, you want to support this program, San Francisco. That's the motto anytime the Niners score a touchdown on the watch party here. So if you want your shirts, chatsports.com/SF. We'll put that link down below in the comment section and attached to the pinned comment of today's show. You can get yours today. We've sent these all across the world. So change number 2. I think it's time to get D Winters on the field more. And I've been talking about this since the preseason. I've been talking about this all year long. And when D Winters was on the field last week against Seattle, he made some big plays. That 4th and inches stop, D Winters played a role. And imagine if the Niners could have had D Winters and Fred Warner both on the field at the same time for a couple of those Geno Smith scrambles, which were backbreaking as Seattle marched 80 yards down the field and won the game last week. Devondre Campbell doesn't have the speed of D Winters, who has sideline-to-sideline speed, a lot of burst, good instincts. He plays like his hair is on fire, and albeit in a limited sample size, his coverage grade against the pass, a lot better than Devondre Campbell. He's just more athletic. Devondre Campbell has been a little bit better in recent weeks, but at this point of his career and in his life, he doesn't have the speed that D Winters has, and D Winters can really wreak havoc. Now, can he be overly aggressive and sometimes over-pursue? No doubt about it. But at this point, what are you losing? Because Devondre Campbell is really killing this Niners defense. D Winters, 77.6 coverage grade. Devondre Campbell, 57.7, one of the lowest marks for a full-time linebacker. And, of course, San Francisco really missing Dre Greenlaw this year as well. What the Niners need to do as a team, and we can kind of brainstorm some changes here, they just have to finish games. And what's been so frustrating and maddening about this Niners season in 2024, so often they have outplayed the opposition. So often they have had leads. So often they have been in a position to win. And then they choke it away in the 4th quarter and in the final couple minutes of the game. And I think this is pretty telling. This is scheme. This is personnel. This is a lack of depth. Maybe this is also this Niners team in general, top to bottom, being mentally and physically fatigued. But EPA, it stands for expected points added. And this is the Niners' defensive EPA per play by quarter. First quarter, really good. Number 4 in the NFL. Second quarter, still elite. Top 10, number 7. But then they start to tail off in that second half. This could be due to lack of adjustments from Nick Sorensen and the team, again, wearing down. 13th in the third, 28th in the 4th quarter. So offensively and defensively, the Niners collectively are playing their worst football in the money quarter. The Niners run defense EPA. What's the similar theme here? They start off the game very well. First quarter, number 3. Second quarter, 22. Third quarter, 25th. Fourth quarter, 23rd. It gets worse. The Niners pass defense EPA. Once again, Niners are good to start the game. 9th in the first, 7th in the second, 7th in the third. That's a pretty good 3-quarter stretch. And then they drop down to 28th in the 4th quarter? So the Niners, in totality here, defensive EPA, the first through third quarter, they're 5th in the NFL. And then total as a defense in the 4th, they are 28th among 32 teams. This is also a sight for sore eyes here. Niners points per game allowed in the 4th quarter in 2023, and in 2024. The Niners defense got stronger last year as the game wore on throughout the duration of a 60-minute ball game. And in 2023, the Niners gave up 3.7 points per game in the fourth quarter. This year in the fourth quarter, the Niners are giving up 8.8 points per game. That's 27th. If you were to multiply that, their fourth quarter numbers, by 4 throughout an entire game, it's 35 points per game. And so this is a collective effort for the Niners to finish games. And so the changes that the Niners need to make, the offense needs to be more efficient. The offense needs to capitalize in the red zone. You score more points, you give the defense more breathing room. The defense needs to get off the field on third downs. They need to be better in the red zone. They need to be better against quarterback scrambles. And as the game wears on, they need to make adjustments. They need to be better against the run. They need to be better against the pass. Again, it's personnel, it's lack of depth, it's coaching. It is really a failure at every level of the organization for how San Francisco has been unable, bad English for a journalism major, to finish ball games. And it's very frustrating to talk about because it's the same thing over and over and over again. And I'm looking at the comment section right now. J49, stop napping in the fourth. It's like the Niners nap in the fourth quarter, coaching-wise and player execution-wise. Be sure to give me a follow. Let me know what you think about the content at Chase_Senior on X, over 14,000 followers, and then at Chase_Senior, the same handle on Instagram. We're past 34,000 followers over there. Isaac Santee gets us to $200 in Super Chats. Thank you, brother. Longtime viewer of the show. Just saying 49ers. He's just supporting the team and supporting the 49ers report. Let's get it.
About to get into a mailbag here, so it's your last chance. Get your questions in hashtag 49ers, or if you send in a super chat, you're guaranteed to get your question answered to start off the show. We have a few super chats. Good amount here today, asking some questions. I love Big Hurts. That one's definitely making the mailbag.
Big Hurt, yeah.
For sure.
Yep. Super chat's good on the mailbag. I see Roddy Cow. What's up, Chase the Goat? What's up to you? One of our super chat MVPs over time. Sacred Intuition, the Feliciano timeline, limited in practice. So it's all about if he can play in the game and if the Niners think that he can play in the game. All right, let's see if we have another Brock Purdy update here. Kyle Shanahan said on KNBR just now that Brock Purdy was limited in today's practice and did, quote, a little more today than on Wednesday. Shanahan mentioned that he remains hopeful Purdy will play against Green Bay. Hopeful. So yesterday it was kind of optimistic, and today it's hopeful. I don't like it either. Shanahan also said Purdy did not return to practice after leaving to get treatment. So did he stop throwing because there was discomfort? Or did he stop throwing to get treatment? Shanahan also added that Purdy is working on his rehab. Hopefully, he'll be feeling great on Sunday. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. What a season for the Niners. It's really reminiscent of 2020, isn't it? Reminiscent of 2020. All right, one more segment to get to, and it's a great segment because we get to hear from all of you. We're also going to talk about Aaron Rodgers here, so let's dive in. Another loaded show coming your way on the San Francisco 49ers report, and here's what's coming up. Should the Niners target Aaron Rodgers if his marriage with the New York Jets ends? We're also going to take your questions, open up the floor, and chop it up with the faithful. Now, I do want to give a shout out to one of our loyal viewers, Matt Miller, very active on X, and he tweeted me with this question here. Should the 49ers let Brock Purdy walk and bring in Aaron Rodgers? I personally think Rodgers' ego would clash with Kyle Shanahan's ego, but This would be interesting and would save a ton of money. This needs attention. So a couple of things with this tweet right here. Brock Purdy's still under contract for 2025 at a very affordable rate, right around $1 million. It might save you money in the long term, but if Aaron Rodgers were to continue his career, and he is looking very old as of late, he wouldn't demand the $60 million or $50 million that Brock Purdy would, but at 40 years old, given his resume, a multi-time MVP winner and a one-time Super Bowl champion, he's going to want to get compensated. So you don't have to worry about the long-term money, but there is still some short-term money at play. So Matt Miller said this, and then Matt Barrows, who covers the Niners for The Athletic, mentioned this on KNBR. The one intriguing offseason possibility is if Aaron Rodgers, a guy who the 49ers were definitely interested in the past, becomes available. But the 49ers are not as down on Brock Purdy as the public is. Also, Albert Breer went on with Colin Cowherd and said all indications that he gets are that the Niners have wanted to pay Brock Purdy and still plan on paying Brock Purdy. Now, why are people discussing this on top of the possibility of Rodgers being let go? Purdy has struggled a little bit this year. A lot of that due to circumstances that he can't control. Bad offensive line play, players in and out of the lineup at the skill position spots. Kyle Shanahan has had a down year himself. The preseason drama, the vibes weren't good with Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams. It has really been a frustrating and maddening season for everybody involved with this organization. But he struggled a little bit. And is the NFL figuring him out, and is he regressing a little bit? First 25 starts, he had a passer rating of 118. His last 15, including the playoffs, it's, I believe, right around 95. So there has been a little bit of regression. Analytically, he's still been very good, but we've seen it with our eyes. Maybe a little bit of a regression. There's also pressure on this Niners team, given how they're constructed, to win right now because they're in the Super Bowl window. And people might look at Aaron Rodgers as that elite play that you can get from that quarterback position to get you over the top. And if Purdy isn't the guy, is Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers is also from Northern California. He went to Butte Community College. He grew up rooting on the Niners. The Niners took Alex Smith over him when he was coming out of Cal. And the Niners have showed interest in him before. Not in the draft, but in making a trade for him a couple of years ago. Here's what it comes down to for me. Aaron Rodgers is 40 years old. I've been a big fan of his throughout his career, but it looks as though he's not the greatest leader. Sometimes the locker room culture can get a little bit toxic. The Green Bay Packers really wanted to move on. He's a year removed from tearing his Achilles, and this year he hasn't been great. His completion rate, 63.5%. Usually, he's very accurate, a surgeon. He's thrown for more than 2,400 yards, 17 touchdowns, 7 picks. Those numbers aren't bad. But in Aaron Rodgers' prime, and as recently as 2021 when he won MVP, he was very mobile. He's lost that mobility because of the age, because of the Achilles. Could he be better with this mobility in 2025? Another year removed from that torn Achilles? Yes, he could. But I just think that you are seeing a player start to decline a little bit. It's always difficult to gauge how good a player is for a dumpster fire organization like the Jets are. Awful owner. They fired their head coach who was never the problem. And Nathaniel Hackett was the OC. So maybe Rodgers could go somewhere and pair up with a really good offensive mind and ball out. But I just think it's too risky. So who would you choose to be the team starting quarterback in 2025? Would it be Brock Purdy? Would it be Aaron Rodgers? Let me know down in the comments section. We'll take your questions on the other side, but let's get to our friends at Prize Picks. More than 10 million active members, billions of dollars awarded out to winners all across the nation, and right now you can win up to 100 times your money. It's daily fantasy sports made easy. You pick 2 or more players. You choose more or less on their projected stats. And it's easy and exciting daily fantasy sports. Head to prizepicks.com/CLNS. And when you use the code CLNS, You get $50 when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Some selections that we're digging going into Sunday's game against the Packers. Christian McCaffrey, more than 78.5 rushing yards. Christian Watson, less than 43.5 receiving yards. Pick more, pick less. Run your game with Prize Picks. We'll put that link down below in the show notes, and it's attached to the pinned comment of today's Niners Report. Let's get to your questions and your super chats. Big Hurt, $10. The fat lady isn't singing, but that big girl is tuning up. Kyle has to get his shit together and coach to win and not to lose. I do think that something that Kyle Shanahan can evolve with and adapt and change, it's getting a little bit more aggressive in the fourth quarter. He gets very conservative, and it's burnt him a lot. Regular season games, in the playoffs, and of course in the Super Bowl. So the Niners technically are not out of it. The fat lady isn't singing yet. But as Big Hurt said, that big old girl, she has like the song ready to go. And if the Niners lose against Green Bay, it could be Jover. Black Mask, a $10 super chat. We are not beating the shit out of opponents in the trenches like we used to. We would play Smash Mouth football. You know, I was looking at one of Brian Baldinger's tape studies of this Niners team. And he made a really good point that I've talked about here on the show. The Niners are not winning on first down enough. That is especially a problem in the red zone where the first down success rate has not been good. And when you have to play even with the sticks or behind the sticks and you're in second and long consistently, you can't live like that. Can't play like that. It's not a sustainable way to play football. And so often in the past, the Niners have been able to bully teams on first down with their run game specifically, setting up a second and medium, a second and short. And then you have second and third down to call a play that's going to allow you to move the chains. But the defense can kind of pin their ears back and eat when they know the opposing offense is in that second and long. And so that has been a problem. And the Niners usually have been able to manhandle teams in the trenches. Against Seattle, they're missing blocks. They're getting pushed back. They're looking tired. They were getting out schemed. They were getting out hustled, out physicaled. It was bad in all areas on all fronts. So Black Mask, you make a very good point right there. Adam, $2 super chat. Do you still think the Niners can win the NFC West? I do. It's hanging by a thread. I always kind of look at it this way. Like right now, the Niners are a flawed team not playing good football. The Arizona Cardinals, on the other hand, have been playing excellent football. If you just look, forget their team name, forget their history. If you just look at the team and you don't hone in on their ugly red uniforms and who they are as an organization, what they've done in the past. If you just watch them play football over the last month, they've played like one of the top teams in the NFL. Are they just going to collapse and fold? And are the Niners all of a sudden, with uncertainty at the quarterback spot, just going to completely be able to turn it around? I have my doubts. It's winnable. The Seahawks, Cardinals, and Rams have difficult schedules remaining. So too do the Niners. But the Niners are going to have to take care of business and get help from those teams. Ernesto Ojeda. George Kittle may play on Sunday against the Packers. And what percentage do you think he plays? 100%. George Kittle said that he will play on Sunday. Limited participant in practice this week, but he said he's not missing this game. Niners really missed him last week as a blocker, as a pass catcher, owning the middle of the field, in the red zone in particular. And he has just been a great weapon and security safety valve for Brock Purdy, a trustworthy guy who Purdy knows he can go to. King Martini, any update on when Dre Greenlaw is coming back? Practice window has not been opened yet. Maybe against the Chicago Bears in a couple of weeks. That seems to be the target range for when he might be able to return. I'll tell you what, the Niners have really missed him this year. Him coming back can have a profound impact on this defense. Like hopefully the return of Christian McCaffrey can benefit this offense, although the Niners haven't yielded those returns yet with CMC returning. But Fred Warner's play over the last 5-6 weeks, it's really dropped off. The last 30 times he's been targeted, he's given up 30 catches. And so he's really had to make up for a lot of bad play around him and just subpar linebacker play at his position. He misses Greenlaw. The Niners miss Greenlaw. Hugo De Jesus. Rodgers wouldn't last 2 games with our offensive line. We need a quarterback that's mobile. Rodgers is too slow. That is also a fantastic point that I didn't make a little bit earlier. And Hugo, you were spot on. The Jets' offensive line, while better than in recent years, has not been good this year. And Rodgers can't escape or evade pressure. And with this Niners offensive line, imagine if they had Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback or a statue at quarterback. How many times has Brock Purdy made huge plays with his legs, either picking up first downs, running touchdowns like the one against Seattle? He turned the corner. He got the pylon. Nobody in the building thought that he was going to be able to turn that upfield. He did it. And then he can also move around with his feet and create to make plays with his arm downfield. Bob Smith, are the Niners in rebuild mode? Last question here. No, I don't think so. If the Niners don't make the playoffs, I don't think it's a rebuild. I think it's a retool. And you might have a difficult roster decision or decisions to make. Do you move off of Deebo Samuel? Do you move off another highly paid vet? Do you not extend George Kittle and or Fred Warner, who might be looking for some deals? I don't think it's a rebuild because I still think the Niners have talent. I just think it'll be a little bit of a retool. Be sure to subscribe to us here on the Niners Report. Niners coverage every single day, year-round. We appreciate the faithful for always rocking with us. All right, good show today. $200 in Super Chats. Let's get it.
Caleb Ozulak.
Caleb watching from overseas. $5. The 49ers are 9-8-1 in 2024 when you count all regular season games, all playoff games, and preseason games. They were 16-7 in 2023. I mean, look, I'm not going to put any value in the preseason. You know, they came back against Green Bay. They came back against Detroit. 2 epic wins right there. Were they playing their best football at the end of the year last year? No, they were not. They're a couple plays away from beating Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid in the Super Bowl. This year, have they been a mid, up and down, mediocre, flawed, average 5-5 football team? Yes, they have. Fernando Espinosa. This is the 5 from earlier. The good vibes. Niners all the way. He thinks San Francisco can go all the way. Do you believe? If you do, type me. All right, Chip and I are going to sign off. Thanks to everybody for watching. Baseball fans, Shohei Ohtani, 3rd unanimous MVP. We'll be live again on Sunday. Candy said, hold up. A $20 super chat. Chase and Chip are the best. Can't get enough of this show. Yo! Candy, thank you. I've seen you in the comment section a lot of late. I've been giving you some hearts and responding. Thanks for the 20. That gets us up to 227 in Super Chats. Good stuff right there. So programming stuff moving forward, and we'll pop that Super Chat up from Candy. Was live on the Niners Collective last night. Myself, Grant Cohn, Jesse Naylor, Ashley Ariana. I'll be live with Fleury Krueger tomorrow, 1:45 p.m. Eastern, 10:45 a.m. Pacific. I'll be live again on Sunday. Niners Packers watch party. Grind never stops. Content daddies never sleep. We got to provide for the faithful. You know the deal. Thanks for tuning in. For Chip, I'm Chase. We're out of here. Enjoy your Thursday. Steelers, Browns, Thursday Night Football. I'll be watching.